not playing this game in VR. Not a fucking chance.
Come on, you a big gamer or are you a boy gamer?
If that's what being a big gamer is, I am not a big gamer. Hello, loving audience. Just wanted to come out and head this one off with the pass. Last episode's a little short. You may have noticed. It was about 10-ish minutes, a little bit shorter than we normally do. You may have noticed that the intro definitely was a little longer. And that the outro lasted about approximately 10 seconds. So just wanted to head this one off with the pass. We were, in fact, haunted by ghosts last time.
Yeah. It's very true. They knew we were doing a Spooktober thing, but we were doing it before Spooktober actually started.
That is true.
So they got mad, and they came and haunted us a little bit.
They did a light haunting. It was mostly just pouring more alcohol in my cup that I could probably handle when trying to do a podcast. And I was like, well, I don't remember pouring myself this much, but here we are. Mm-hmm. And then the ghosts were like, yeah, keep drinking up, you bimbo.
Here I go haunting again.
Here I go haunting again and pouring alcohol for this man. And then so by the hour and 15-minute mark, I was like, great, we did a great podcast. And I edited it down and I was like, what the fuck were we talking about? What was happening in there?
Big brain energy, baby. Big brain energy.
Yeah, I guess you could call it that. But regardless, it is now actually Spook Month. And so we are still hosting a very spooky podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The name of that podcast, of course, it's Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. My name is Haunted Chase.
My name is Punished David.
Punished David. The joke's so nice we say it every single time.
It's my Halloween costume this year. It's just me with a bunch of chains.
Punished David. I was thinking you with like a mullet if you were going to do a true Metal Gear thing.
I could do a mullet right now.
You can grow a mean mustache too, so you could really, really rock like the 70s look.
80s?
My thought about mullet is that it's very 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
I always thought 80s.
You may be right.
I don't know.
I was not born during either of these decades.
Me neither.
So I have not the memory.
We're both just talking out of our ass, truly. Either way, that sweet 70s, maybe 80s look.
You could do a past haircut.
Mm-hmm.
A history haircut.
A history cut.
To make all of our listeners who are older than us feel very bad about themselves, you can do a history haircut.
There we go. A hairstory cut.
Oh, from the old times?
From the long ago?
From the before times. Yeah, it's a video game podcast and it's a spooky month, so we're doing a spooky podcast. David, have you been playing video games?
Yeah, I have been.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
I have still been playing video games. It's my confession.
Pray tell which ones.
I'm not praying at all this month because this is Spook Month. The only thing I will do is recite incantations, do some light pentagramming.
Sure. A little Ouijaing on the side.
A little Ouijaing. Always good. Mm-hmm. Makes you happy.
A little low Ouijaing.
A little Luigiing. Luigi board. Nintendo should get on that. Luigi-themed Ouija board.
Nintendo would never fuck with ghosts. They know better.
They know better?
Yeah. The Wii U was a product of a haunting, I'm sure.
The Wii U?
Yeah, it was a product of a haunting.
I don't know. That feels more like the Virtual Boy.
That was a demonic possession, in my opinion.
You see red, and then afterwards, you literally can only see red for a bit.
Yeah, it's
great. Just fuck up your eyes.
Quality console.
Good stuff.
David, video games. Which ones, though?
The Witcher. Witching hard.
Yeah.
It still looks so good on my TV.
Sure. Yeah. The weekly check-in.
Weekly
check-ins used to be, I'm still playing Divinity this week, now it's after Divinity's been beaten. It is The Witcher still looks fantastic on this television.
That's the weekly check. Still looks real damn good on my TV, which is great. Uh-huh. I also dove back into Cuphead.
Cuphead, wow.
Yeah, I gotten off the bandwagon for a bit, even though I still hadn't been enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then I just went back in, got my second wind, beat up Beppy the Clown.
Sure.
Sent him to hell. Quite literally, I think you send them to hell after you beat them.
Yeah.
Sounds good, because Beppy was giving me a tough time before.
Bubby was giving you a boppy.
Bubby was giving me a bopping. Bubby was bumping me. And it was bad.
And it was bad-D.
Oh, bad.
Babadi.
Babadook?
It was Babadook.
Babadook.
Spooky.
A spooky movie. But that's a really fun game. I still really enjoy that one. It's just, it takes every little bit of concentration I have.
Focus. Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard to sustain playing that game for a long period of time because I just get exhausted after a while. I'm just like, I can't play anymore. The amount of it demands of me, I just can't.
You start losing too. Like you can push past the limit, but then it's just like, I'm not making any progress right now.
And this is how you go one step even further.
Plus Ultra. Oh man, My Hero Academia fucking slaps.
Just all of my anime heroes just fly through my head at that moment when I think of giving up. It's just like, no, David, you can't.
Goku's back there building up a spirit bomb.
Goku's back there. He's screaming.
Yeah.
All Might is coming in with the big old punch.
A very good punch.
The very good punch.
One Punch Man is coming in with a single punch.
With one serious punch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been playing that. Played a good amount of Divinity Original Sin 1 as well. That's still good. Still good. Yeah. I haven't been playing anything really new lately, but I've just been delving deeper into some existing games.
Yeah. How far are you into The Witcher right now?
I am in Skellige.
Yeah.
What just happened? I just talked to, apparently we have a bro who's like the leader of one of the islands, and he's going to let me go and check out that catastrophe area, and also wants me to like find his son who went to go fuck up a giant and then stop his daughter from trying to solve the mystery of some dude who says he's sick but may actually be cursed.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
So
that's good stuff.
Three solid quests to go on right now. But they do a great job at that in that game of just giving you so many tasty things to delve into. Because each one of those is just like, ooh, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. Yeah. That sounds fun. Just good stuff all around. Yeah, it's making me real excited for Cyberpunk.
It's coming, baby.
It's coming, but I think I'm going to have to wait until PS5 for it.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Because I'm going to have to maximize this television, baby.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's going to be good.
Fingers crossed. I hope so.
What about you? What have you been playing?
Couple of things. Still a significant amount of Hades. That game really has its hooks just all up in me. So I think the last time we talked on here, I had cleared it once, which is really just kind of like the starting point of the game. Like there's so many parts of this game and a lot of, like, they tie in narratively like why you would want to continue to beat the game over and over again. Like beating a run is definitely not the end of the game. You kind of have to like keep doing it to get more story out of it.
Sure.
And so at this point I'm just continuing to go through. I'm assuming that there is like a narrative conclusion at some point, but I'm not there yet. But it's really fucking good. This game is so fucking good. The progression loop is so fun. Dying in it doesn't feel like catastrophic like it does in some other roguelikes where it's like, dang it, I was only trying to get to the end of this and I failed. Because you pick up so many resources along the way. It's like, oh, I'm dead, but I get to go back and like spend all the things that I just got to like upgrade my dude or to like talk to new people and get new story beats or anything like that. So it's so fucking good.
Nice.
So yeah, definitely on fire with that one right now. I also the other day was like, hey, I'm so bored and COVID is bumming me out so badly. Do you have any game that I could potentially get at? And I was like, I don't know. Like she had just blasted through Paper Mario. And so I was like, what other possible game could I get to? Because I'm not really sure. Like I doubt a bunch of other RPGs are going to really satiate her in the same way.
Sure.
Like I couldn't throw Final Fantasy 9 at her and be like, it's the same thing. Yay. Like,
yeah, I
don't think that was going to be very fun. So given that it was Spooky Month, we went with Luigi's Mansion.
Ooh, number 3?
Number 3. She has since beaten this game.
Damn.
This was like on Friday.
Blasting.
Put in like 6 hours on Friday, 6 hours on Saturday, and then another like 1 or 2 on Sunday and got it done.
That's the way to do it.
That was the way. It was crazy.
This is the way.
This is the fucking way. She just consumes these games just voraciously.
Wow.
So I mostly got to like watch her play that, and like every now and then would tag in for like a boss or something like that. Pretty good game. I really didn't play very much of this. I realize, like in hindsight, because I didn't beat it. I got like some of the way through. We got to the part that I was at, and we were like maybe an hour or 3 in. Like it was not far.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the coolest stuff in the game was after that. So I was like, oh man, like I really missed a lot of this.
You missed all the good stuff.
Yeah. So that was cool.
So that has co-op, doesn't it? Isn't it Gooigi?
There was co-op, but we didn't play co-op. I
just
mostly watched her. That's usually more enjoyable for me.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was
very nice.
That was a good one. And then the last thing, it's finally here, David. I signed up for the new Rebellion. I am now a part of a squadron of TIE fighters.
Of TIE fighters?
And X-Wings.
Oh, okay.
Both.
Gotcha. Let's say you monster.
They make you play as both. It's Star Wars Squadrons. This game is wild, man.
Yeah?
I'm very, very into it. It is the best Star Fox game that I've played.
The best Star Fox game you've played?
It is so deeply Star Fox in there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like, you know the parts in Star Fox where it's like it opens up a little bit and you're fighting in like kind of a 3D arena?
Yeah.
You're sort of like going back and forth and there's not like one direction that you're supposed to be going. It feels like that a lot of the time, and in a good way. Like, there's just this big arena. You've got like a team of people that are all sort of like different characters and they're, you know, chattering at you. And there's, you know, a dude who has like big slippy energy on your new rebellion forces and shit like that.
He's got big slip energy, huh?
He's got big slippy energy. Just kind of like a man who's fairly afraid and talks a big game, but isn't all that cool.
All right, sweet. Do we have a Peppy and a Falco as well?
I don't think they have anybody quite as douchey as Falco, but they do have a Peppy, sort of the older
statesman.
Yeah, exactly. She's like been on the team for quite a while and like is more of a support role than like a fighter. Maybe they do have a Falco because there's somebody who teaches you how to drift.
There's drifting in this game?
Yeah, so like if you
bang 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 bang. There's your editing for the week.
I'll find any excuse to play the Tokyo Drift song. You like, so you have control over certain like portions of your power control in any of your ships. So between like lasers or shields or speed, like engines. And so you can switch between those pretty frequently. If you switch to your engines, like putting a bunch of power in there, then you can boost. And if you boost like super fast, you hold it there for a little while, then cut your power to your engines and continue boosting as you turn, your ship essentially like will drift around and make a really hard turn.
Nice.
Which is very
sweet.
Cool. When
That's
you do it, it's very cool.
Oh, this is pod
Yeah,
racing.
so like if you're exactly, yeah. So if you're getting like just blasted by somebody behind you, you can pull that maneuver and sort of like fire on whoever is firing at you, which is very, very good. So maybe they do have a Falco because she's the one who teaches you how to drift.
That's pretty cool. That's very Falco-ish. Cool. Falco would definitely know how to drift in our wing.
It's true. So yeah, it's very good. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. The other piece of it that I did want to mention is VR. Been playing this in VR a little bit.
Ooh, baby, how is that?
It's a pretty wild experience.
Is it setting off your flight anxiety?
No, okay, totally
good.
Chill with this one. Because it's just like a spaceship and I have no conception of that. It's not an airplane. So the physics of it don't frighten me quite as much as like Microsoft Flight Sim does. Yeah, it's cool. Like being able to look around in the cockpit is very, very fun. And like it's genuinely useful for a couple of points because a lot of the time you're trying to like see who's shooting at you. And if they're anywhere near you, like if they're not behind you, you can kind of like look at them with VR and be like, okay, I need to move my ship up there. And so you can kind of keep your eye on people a little bit better than you can when you're just playing on the monitor because the monitor is just like a fixed view, right?
Yeah.
You can turn your ship, but it takes a second, right? Like the turning mechanism is definitely much like a flight sim in that you have to like kind of like bank your ship and then pull up to get a very quick turn rather than just like using the right stick to point whichever direction you want to go. And so it's genuinely pretty useful to like look with your head and look at the person you're trying to shoot at and then move your ship that way.
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's very cool. Plus just like it definitely still makes me like motion sick, but a little bit less, which is weird, just given that like it looks like I'm sitting in a cockpit and I don't really like, my brain doesn't know what to think about like flight simulation, right? Like when I play the driving games, it's like I know what I'm supposed to be feeling because I've driven in a car quite a bit, but like, you know, in a spaceship, I don't know what the fuck that's supposed to feel like. I can kind of just look at the instrumentation and notice that it's not moving.
So the driving games make you feel sick?
Oh, deeply. Yeah, I played Project Cars and like wanted to vomit before I'd gotten around the track. Yeah.
Dang. And you're playing all these on computer, right?
Yeah.
Using your Oculus. Rad.
The only other thing I wanted to mention about it was a very weird experience that like I was definitely in the game and was there pretty deeply. Like the physical space was definitely like something my brain was registering. and you go and like have conversations with people. Like that's what you do in between the missions, is you just go like talk to your squad mates and shit like that. It's not like you don't have to do any sort of input. You just go kind of hear about who they are, which is interesting. It's fun. But there was this weird moment where like I was talking to Gunny, who's like the Peppy kind of to me, or maybe the Star Fox. I'm not sure which, but she was kind of like talking to me, and she's sort of like the older person on the team who's been there for a little while. And another one of the teammates like came in through one of the blast doors, just like walking around, and he like nodded at me, and I like turned my physical head, nodded back at him because my brain was like, oh, you should say hi, because the person just said hello to you.
Whoa.
And it took me a second to kind of like be like, that's just a digital thing over there. That's an AI. I didn't have to say hello.
I can ignore him. He doesn't care.
Yeah. But very weird that like my brain's social aspect was triggered. Yeah.
You wouldn't have done that if you're playing it on a screen, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. But yeah, it's a fun game. I'm enjoying it quite a bit, especially because it's only $40. So
that's not bad. Is it worth it?
I'd say so. Like if you enjoy Star Wars, or if you've enjoyed any of the Star Foxes, honestly, it's pretty fun. It's definitely like it's definitely flight simmy. So like it takes a second to kind of get the feel for like how to control the planes, because it's like in arcade sort of style games like Star Fox or something like that, there's a lot of leeway, right? Like you can kind of just point your reticle anywhere and shoot anybody. But with this one, it's like if somebody's like shooting you from behind, it is quite hard to like slow down, turn around, get your like lasers on them, or fire on somebody. Or if somebody's moving really quick and they have like a faster ship than you, then it is difficult to kind of compensate for that, because you have to maneuver so specifically. But other than that, I think once you get the flight of it down, it's super satisfying to be like really in a dogfight with some people and like maneuvering around and drifting and shooting, and like your team's backing you up and all sorts of shit. So it's fun.
Have you been doing any multiplayer?
I haven't touched the multiplayer at all. I'm interested though, because it's like structured in the way that it is, of being like kind of a smaller squadron in the same way that like the single player is. Reminds me of like a Dota or a League or something like that, where the teams are fairly small, but like communication is a big part of it. So I'm interested to see it. I just kind of wanted to like get my flight down a little bit better before I go jumping into the multiplayer.
Okay.
So
sweet.
Yeah. It's cool.
Sounds fun.
It is. I like it a lot. But this will take me into my Podtimistic thing of the week, David.
Ooh, I'm ready.
It is a good dodge roll.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
The thing that is fueling my sense of Podtimism this week is a good dodge roll. I've been in Hades. It has a very, very good dodge roll. You can essentially like dash, and that does a good job of protecting you from a lot of things. So if you can memorize people's fight patterns enough, you can kind of really not get hit very often. It just reminds me how good of an idea a dodge roll is in video games.
Yeah, I get it.
Really makes you feel strong and good. In any of the Souls games, like Sekiro or Dark Souls or anything like that, great dodge rolls there.
Yep, dodge roll, or its distant cousin in a 2D platformer, the dash.
The dash, yeah. Any like sort of blink or anything like that. Yeah.
Hollow Knight.
Oh yeah, Hollow Knight has a great one.
Cuphead has a good one too.
That's true. I think really any game that demands a certain level of like memorization of enemy patterns needs a dash roll.
Yeah. Totally.
Because it's gonna throw some shit at you, and you're gonna have to kind of get out of the way sometimes.
Yeah, I forgot there was a dash in Cuphead when I went back in, and I was fighting Beppy, and I was like getting close to the end to like beating him, and I was like, oh god, this would be a lot easier if I could dash. Then I was like, I can dash. And then it was like Goku taking off his weighted clothing, and I just demolished him. It's great.
He's moving so fast, I can't even see him.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan, especially when one feels very good. Like, it visually communicates to you when you are now vulnerable again, or like how quickly it comes out. It's very important to me that a dash roll comes out almost immediately.
Oh yeah.
Like there's not a lot of delay between when you press it and when you start moving and are invulnerable. Do you remember when this started happening?
Dodge rolls?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Demon Souls and Dark Souls really are the ones that took it to the next level.
They definitely refined it.
But as far as like other games that did it beforehand, let me think. I mean, you definitely had a roll in God of War.
I remember that too, but I also don't remember using it very often.
I didn't use it that much either. In God of War, you can kind of just get away with just smashing people.
Yeah, attacking was just as valid of a defense.
I guess when it was like really a core mechanic of a game, where you had to use it.
I don't know. I can't think of anything prior to Dark Souls that was quite as useful.
I mean, yeah, I can't. Nothing comes to my mind either. Just like, I guess it would have to be some sort of third person game, right? And I can't really think of one that has a big dodge roll component. And maybe like Resident Evil 4 had quick time events that get out of the way of things, but that's not a dodge roll.
Yeah, I mean, like there have been dodges and rolls and like parries in games for a while, but I don't think any of them used to quite the same effect, right? Like I feel like most of the time when games introduced, or at least in like, you know, like kind of PS2, PS3 era of games, if they introduced a dodge, you kind of were like, okay, and then I'm just going to attack instead, I think. That's going to be a better use of my time.
I mean, we're missing the most obvious one, Smash.
Smash. Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a
Since
great
64.
dodge roll. Yeah. Although I feel like in 64, it wasn't quite as necessary as it was in later games.
Yeah, wasn't as powerful. But Melee, huge in Melee.
Huge. Do you have something that's fueling your sense of optimism this week, Dave?
Yes, I do.
Tell me, please.
It's party games.
Party games. Ooh, I'm a big fan.
Oh, yeah. I love a good party game, especially if it involves fallen beans.
Fallen beans, like Fall Guys?
Yes. Thank you for understanding.
I got what you're saying.
We had some friends visiting like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we played Fall Guys, and everyone was into it.
Yeah.
And it's just such an easy game to pick up and play, and people have fun to play it and fun to just watch it as well.
Yeah.
So it was a hit, which was great. And of course, just through time having great fun with party games like Jackbox games or any of those like free PlayStation games that you can get every once in a while. That's like a party game where everyone like just plays together, or even to a lesser extent like Until Dawn and Man of Medan games where there's a component of everybody playing together. Yeah. It's always so much more fun when you have a big group than like switching off playing single player.
Yeah, definitely. Rock Band, Guitar Hero.
Oh man. My childhood. What a great time.
Obviously the Titans. Mario Party.
Yeah. That's making an appearance in one of my spookiest moments.
Ooh, interesting. I'm very excited for that. Maybe that's a good segue actually to move on to our next thing, huh?
All right, I'm ready.
So, like any good millennial podcast, we have to have countdowns every now and then of numbered list of things you won't believe.
Hey, I'm going to click on that.
Number 3 will leave you shocked.
Ooh, number 3 is going to spoop you silly.
Spoop you solid, baby.
Spoop you. I got spooped so hard. So hard. So... God damn it. It's already going off the rails. Again.
So because it's spooky month, we thought it would be a fun time to count down our spookiest moments in gaming.
The biggest spooks we've ever
Qualiest, biggest spooks in gaming. Thank you for lending your voice. Once more. So yeah, we're going to...
I'm once again asking for your energy.
Once again asking for your spooky laugh. So we are going to count down from the least spooky of the list down to the spookiest.
Okay.
So we got 5 of them per person, and then we have a couple of user submissions that we'll go over at the end of this. Let's just get right into this. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
I can go first.
Okay, I go first. At number 5.
Five.
Burger King foot
lettuce.
Sneak King. No, I'm just kidding. It's Dino Crisis.
Dino Crisis. Wow, okay.
It was spooky. It was probably the first like actually intended to be scary game I played as a kid.
Yeah.
I think my dad bought it for me because he thought it was going to be like
a dinosaur
park, like fun dinosaurs, but it was actually scary dinosaurs.
Yeah, it was made by Capcom. It was the same team that did Resident Evil.
Yeah. So I remember it didn't get past the first level. I remember I was just walking down the hallway and there was a velociraptor.
Yeah.
That was seemingly dead, and I got closer to it, and it jumped up and it started attacking me, and it was horrible fixed view camera angles, I didn't know what I was doing. It didn't give me any tutorial on how to shoot, so I just died horribly and was forever scarred by that moment.
Press the power button on your PlayStation and turned it right off.
I remember very clearly afterwards, like I remember turning off the system.
Yep.
And then looking at the box art for the game very clearly and just emblazoning what that looked like in my mind. For some reason, I was just fascinated. Like, this is what a scary video game is.
Let me look at the cover of Dino Crisis real quick.
It was the redheaded lady holding her gun. There was a couple dinosaurs in the background, right?
The cover of it is the redheaded lady with like her black suit on and then some scratches on a metal container.
Oh my God, I'm scared. It's so spooky.
I loved Dino Crisis. I thought this game was fucking great. I still think it's great.
I couldn't do it. They should do Dino Crisis Remaster.
Dude, I really wish they would. It's such a strange game.
Did they ever make a sequel?
There was a Dino Crisis 2, but it also came out on the PlayStation.
Wow. Ancient technology.
My first one, number 5 for me.
Number 5.
It is in a similar Capcom vein, in fact. It's in Resident Evil 2 for PlayStation of 1998. Nemesis just fucking slinking around, kicking my ass when I was like 8 years old was so spooky. Oh my.
Slinking around.
Just kind of waiting. You never know when he's going to show up. You can hear him in other rooms just saying stars, spooking you out, getting real scary.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was not able to handle this. Like I played 1, I think, and 2, like around the same time with my brother, who was like 14 years older than I am. So he was totally chilling on all this stuff, not worried about it. But I was like 8 or 9 years old. And this game was very scary to me. Zombies were spooky. Nemesis was deeply, deeply spooky. Just this big man who's like stalking you and like he kills
Doesn't
you
say
so
anything.
fast.
He's just there,
murmuring stars and trying to get you. Oh my God!
Stars.
Like I remember very vividly. My brother and I playing this game, and I heard something from the laundry room. Convinced it was a zombie. Absolutely convinced. And I like asked him. I made him pause the game, and I was like, "What was that?" And like tried to make him listen. And being an older brother, he was like, "You want to go check it out?" And like pulls like just like an attempt at a weapon, like pulls his PlayStation 1 controller up, like we're about to go get somebody. Yeah. And I was like, no, we can't go. Like we're gonna get bit by zombies. He's gonna be out there.
Was it just like 80 or 1 making a ruckus in there?
I'm sure it was just my dad like wandering around the house or something. Who, oddly enough, my dad sounds very similar. His boot step is very similar to what Nemesis sounded like. Just big, heavy stomps wandering around the house. So I was.
Man,
this game is quite spooky for me.
That's pretty funny.
Not nearly as scary after having played the remake this year. Not as scary. I think also because I was a little boy. But
yeah, you're a man grown now.
Yeah, not scared of you anymore, Nemesis. So that was that's my number 5.
You can't hurt me anymore.
No, dude, I got a big old gun now.
There you go.
I have fine motor skills that allow me to beat a video game. What's your number 4, David?
Okay, my number 4 is the Resident Evil 7 demo.
The like Biohazard Resident Evil one?
Yeah, the first person one.
Wow, okay.
I got the demo.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's try this out. And I was playing it with a bunch of my friends in grad school. And they saw that I had it downloaded there. They're just like, oh, we should play that because it's scary.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll play and you guys watch.
Yeah.
And it was so scary. There's something about scary games. It is the scariest medium for me of entertainment.
Yeah, well, you have like some level of control, right? Like you conceptually are able to influence how scary something is.
Yeah.
And it's so deeply scary.
Yeah, it's your choices. And I remember the worst part was having to go down into the basement area and like solve some puzzle down there. And there was just a dude hanging out down there. And there's no way to kill him. You just had to do it quick and run away from him. And then like frantically just run up the stairs and lock the door behind you. And that triggered something from my childhood of always having that be a fear of having to run up a stairway from the basement and close the door behind me as something was chasing me. That was such a distinctly primal feeling that they tapped into and exploited so well.
They did, yeah. That game is really good about that.
Yeah, that house is so spooky. I'm gonna have to play that game, the whole thing, one day. But
yeah, I don't
know if I have the power.
I tried to probably like a year after that came out. Again, I feel like that came out when I was like right out of college, which was just such a stressful time for me trying to like find jobs. And so video games definitely got put on the back burner, and especially games that were like challenging as far as like scary video games. And so I like didn't put as much into it as I think I would now, but it's on Game Pass right now, so I may need to get up in there.
You can play it in VR.
Oh, no fucking thank you. I can probably do this on a monitor. I cannot handle that big dad just crushing
dude.
through the windows or the walls and stuff. No way. I'm not playing this game in VR. Not a fucking chance.
Come on, you a big gamer or are you a little boy gamer?
If that's what being a big gamer is, I am not a big gamer.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, that's a good one. That game is deeply, deeply frightening.
Very scary game.
Okay, my fourth most spooky moment in games.
Let's hear it.
So it comes from a game called Parasite Eve, which was on the PlayStation 1. And this game was quite spooky to me as a young child. It has a lot of like body horror stuff that goes on in it, where like, you know, like rats will turn themselves like inside out into like monsters and shit like that. And there's a lot of like flesh rending and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty spooky, especially on PlayStation 1. I don't know why that stuff is quite so frightening to me, but like the fact that it looks like in cutscenes okay, and then in like the real game it's like just sort of this polygonal mess,
like lasagna or something.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. I don't know why that's like particularly scary to me.
Really?
It's
like
more
frightening to you.
It's a kind of, yeah, it's like unsettling in a certain way. It's like approaching like uncanny valley stuff, but definitely not there yet. It definitely doesn't look real. So it's like this kind of like imitation of the real world of like people that definitely look like dolls being mangled or something like that. Like it's rough. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff that happens in there, but the one that stands out to me is this scene where the protagonist, Aya Brea, she shows up to, I think it's like Central Park. She's like going to try and stop the main antagonist from wreaking more havoc. And she shows up to Central Park where there's supposed to be this like show happening. And there's all these people that are there, and the main antagonist, like as the game explains, it turns their mitochondria against them and essentially like melts their bodies. Yeah, it's fucking wild.
The powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of weird explanations for stuff in this game, and that being kind of one of the main ones, but the effect being that the people who are in attendance essentially just turn into this like human goo.
Like in the first X-Men movie where that senator turns into water goo?
I think so, yeah. It's like kind of a fleshy pink goo that they turn into.
Gross.
And it was just like, as a kid, terrifying because like, again, all the body horror stuff usually kind of gets me on a certain level, but these people just showing up to something and then getting turned into like this monstrous, horrendous figure it's a little spooky. It's fucked up monster stuff.
That sounds like some fucked up monster stuff.
Oh yeah. That whole game reminds me a lot of like Akira in the way that like this kind of normal time and place turns into this very like otherworldly body horror thing. You remember in the end of Akira when, what's his name, Tetsuo, is that the fucking bad dude?
I've never seen Akira.
Well, at the end of Akira, Tetsuo is going crazy, and he like gets all these superpowers essentially, and he's just like ripping the scientists apart.
Whoa.
Like he goes into a room and they're like, oh, we have to stop him, and then they just like blow up into like just a spray of blood.
Dope.
And it's scary like that like there are many normal people here one moment, and then next they are goo. So yeah, I still quite like Parasite Eve. It was hard for me to pick one spot in that game that was the most spooky, but it's in there.
That's pretty good.
What's your third most spooky moment in gaming?
My third most spooky moment in a game is the bathroom in PT.
I was wondering when PT was going to show up on your list.
That game is so spooky.
It's fucked. It's
so messed up. And isn't it just like a demo? Isn't that what it was? Or is that like an actual game?
It was marketed as a demo for a longer game, but that game never came out. So for all intents and purposes, that is the game.
Yeah, that was a spooky game. That was a really scary game. And that bathroom in particular was
horrendous.
Horrid.
So bad.
Yeah.
I'll spoil mine a little bit. That's my second spookiest thing on my list here is PT.
PT? Is it the bathroom in particular or something else?
I've written down moments in games for all the other ones. I quoted myself, or I said here, the whole fucking game is what I said for PT.
I wrote down all of PT.
I mean, it's only what, like an hour and a half, maybe. Like it doesn't take you that long.
But is it a roguelike horror game?
I don't know. I don't remember like the death state, and I think that was on purpose. Like
it's not so much a death state. You just keep on going through the same hallway again. So you don't
I think so.
die, but you do kind of replay the level repeatedly.
Yeah, and like I think that was kind of to the benefit of the game, that it was like the fail state and the success state were fairly ambiguous. Like you're never really sure, like, am I done with this fucking game yet? Like, how do I get out of here? How do I stop these horrors?
You just you don't know. You just got to keep on living through it, which is kind of how it would be like in a real haunting, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, how do I make this stop?
Not to mention you're just like painstakingly slow speed in the game.
Yeah.
You cannot walk very fast. And so like as you're turning the corner from like the first hallway into the other one, you're like, oh, something fucked is going to be there.
Yeah, the turning is so slow down the
so
hallways.
slow.
And then all those spooky sounds that happen, and every time you go down the hallway, something else is different, but you can't remember if it was different. It's just like little subtle things that just mess with your mind.
In thinking about horror games a lot, I feel like playing with continuity is such an advantage that games have over like all other horror mediums, because like you as the player are constantly trying to take note of your surroundings and be like, okay, I'm going to map out where things are, and like even subconsciously, right? Like if you're just trying to be like, okay, I took a left here and then a right there and then I went in this room, blah, blah, it fucks with all that stuff. Like
it does, yeah.
Things are a little bit different, and it sort of puts you on edge and stresses you out of like, wait, I thought like, didn't I have to do this? Like this thing wasn't there last time, or was it? I don't know. Like it's stressful. And so it makes
it's real stressful.
Oh man.
When games start messing with me like that, that's where I just start losing it. Like I can't deal. I can't deal with it.
It was a good one. I had played that with a group of friends. I think my senior year of college, I think. And we had played it like with our whole house. So there was like 6 dudes crowding around watching this.
Oh yeah.
And like it was weird the effect it had on these guys. Like people were just going nuts. Like one of the guys, like during the like baby crying thing in the sink or whatever.
Yeah.
He like got up and left. He's like, I can't hear this. I can't hear this. And like just like dipped. Other people are like laughing, and like other ones are like, dude, can we like turn the lights on or something like that? Like they turned a group of full grown dudes into like just tiny little babies who didn't know how to handle horror games. Myself included.
Yeah, I definitely played this with a group of friends as well, I think.
Yeah.
Back at the bro pad at D Street.
Oh, yeah.
The good days. Yeah, it was a very similar experience. Everybody had a different way of dealing with it, which was interesting to see.
Yeah.
People deal with stress and anxiety.
It's wild, because usually that doesn't happen in games, right? Like the most you see is somebody getting like frustrated or angry or something at a video game usually. Rarely is it like genuine fear and stress that forces people to move in a certain way. So, oh man. Pretty rough. Yeah, so PT shouts out.
PT shouts out.
Let me tell you about my third one, because I already told you about my fourth one.
And your second.
And my second, yeah, my numbering system here is a little off. Third one is there was this game that came out in 2000 called Fear Effect.
Oh, I think I remember this one.
It was this game for PlayStation 1 that came on 4 fucking discs. It was a gigantic video game.
4 discs.
It wasn't even that long, but it was just, I think there was a lot of assets in there. And the whole game is like definitely, it's like kind of supernatural and like plays with people dying a little bit, but no more than, you know, any other action movie, right? So it's a little bit spooky, but nothing horrible. I think I was probably 10 when I was playing this, so like ghosts probably aren't kicking my ass too hard anymore, but still, like, you know, I'm trying to keep my head on my shoulders. Something that the game played with really well, though, was how vulnerable you are.
Sure.
Like, I don't remember there being a lot of, like, health regeneration points. Like, you really have to be careful with those, because if you die, you have to go back to a save spot. And so, like, it's almost from softy in a certain way that, like, your health is very, very limited. And so I think it played more on, like, you need to approach certain situations certain way and like save pretty frequently. But anyway, that's all kind of tangential, because about halfway through the game, you're playing as this guy called Royce Glass, or Glass. I can't remember if it's 2 S's or 1. And he's like wandering through, and you just beat a boss, and like he's kind of like this tough cop guy. And the dude who you're looking for in this train isn't where you think he is. Like you get into this room and you think he's going to be in there, and he isn't. Anyway, he's coming out of this room, and like the door is open. He's just kind of like walking out, like he just, you know, beat somebody up. And he like moves in a certain way, and you as the player can see that there's somebody behind the door, and it's the guy who you've been looking for this whole time. And he like takes a sword and like cuts Royce Glass's arm off, at the elbow.
Oh.
Again, the game isn't realistic. It's like mostly cel shaded and cartoony, so it's not particularly like graphic.
Yeah.
Even in hindsight, but for whatever reason, like the either the state the game put me in of vulnerability and like just the terror of having your arm removed.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep for days. Like just I like the sound of this once very tough cop writhing around on the ground after having his arm cut off. Yeah, exactly.
That's always an awful moment in like any sort of medium where they show someone who's like tough as nails, like doesn't give a shit about anything, like just always wins like convincingly, just getting destroyed and like screaming in pain. Always messes with you.
Not great. So yeah, that was it's hard for me to exactly put my finger on what was so terrifying about that, but I watched it like a couple of days ago and like my heart rate started increasing when I knew that it was coming.
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah. And like even in hindsight or even like watching it again, it's not particularly graphic. Like it's a cartoon from like PS1.
Yeah.
So it's just not that detailed, but
it's very triggering for you.
I guess I don't know what that deal is, but I think just as like a kid, the idea of like limbs being cut off was like too much for me. It was too spooky.
Yeah, that's a scary thing to think about as a kid.
Yeah.
Especially when a tough as nails cop who was probably, akin to a father figure in the game, I would assume.
I guess, yeah, kind of.
Gets murked hard.
Yeah, that was a weird one, but that's my number 3. Anyway, if you haven't heard of Fear Effect, go look it up. It's an interesting game.
Is my number 2 now?
This is your second spot. This was PT for me, but now it's just whatever you got in second place for spookiest thing in a game.
Resident Evil 4.
Yes, I kind of figured this would show up on your list.
Oh, most definitely. When you have to fight those shambly dudes, who you have to scope with the special scope and shoot their weak point as they just shuffle towards you.
It's too much.
I have never been so scared and anxious. Oh my God. That was so messed up. That was so messed up. It was actually to the point I was playing that game. That game came out when I think we were in high school, right?
Maybe like middle schoolish, but somewhere
middle school or high school, yeah. And I was home by myself when I played that section.
Oh God.
No, I was home. It was me and my sister, so our parents were gone, right? I had to stop playing, pause it, and then just like take a bunch of deep breaths. My sister's like, "Are you okay?" I'm just like, "It's just really scary.
The game is quite scary.
This is just a really scary part." And she's like, "Can't be that bad." And then she watches. She's like, "Oh my God, this is so
quite
scary.
Bad.
This is so scary." So there's that part, and there's also the part where there's that hallway where you're getting stalked by that invisible monster.
Oh yeah, quite bad.
That part was also really scary.
It's weird because after you played it once or twice and you kind of know how to get around those dudes, it's not quite as terrifying. But the first time you're coming up on it, you're like, "Oh fuck this!"
Yeah,
I don't know what this guy's gonna do. If I remember correctly, the guy that you had to scope to kill, he'd like be across the room and shoot out his arms and like grab you from really far away. Oh. And it was sort of unclear when that was going to happen. And so the terror of like, I don't know if I'm being fast enough. Like, am I going to be quick enough to actually get this guy?
Yeah. He was just zombie doll sim all of a sudden.
Yeah. And not to mention, they don't give you that scope before you run into those guys. It comes after.
You just got to run away from the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you get it like halfway through and you have to like walk by a bunch of them who are just chilling. And just like tiptoe behind them to grab the scope, and you're just like, "Oh my God, it's so nerve-wracking." Don't
they make a fucked up sound too?
They do, but I cannot remember. You're gonna trigger something inside of me when you play this sound. This sounds like a pug.
He does. I remember wasting a lot of bullets on these dudes. Like, how do I kill it?
And bullets were short supply in this game.
It's horrible. It's very bad. I'm going to have to clip some of that breathing sound and put it in here. Resident Evil is very interesting to me because like some of it is scary and some of it isn't, and like for very different reasons a lot of the time. Like I feel like a lot of the scariness in the beginning of the game from like the villagers isn't necessarily that they themselves are very scary. It's just the fact that there's like a lot of them and you're kind of not really sure where they're going to come from.
Yeah.
Or the same thing with like the dude with the chainsaw who's like, I don't know, he's not that hard to kill, but if he catches you, it's very bad. Like I think you just die immediately.
You do. It's one shot and you die gruesomely.
Yeah, and it's pretty brutal. So like you don't want to get caught. And so it's very much like I need to run away from this guy very quickly.
Yeah, you need to just GTFO as fast as you can. Yeah, that's my number 2.
Okay, well, PT was my number 2. Do you want to do your number 1 spookiest moment?
My number 1 scariest moment is Chance Time.
I knew it. I knew it was going to be a joke.
Anytime chance time comes in a Mario Party game,
Yeah.
it is the scariest thing.
Your life
Because
is on the fucking line.
My life is on the line. My friendships are on the line, truly. Am I the one who's going to get screwed over? Am I going to screw someone else over? Or am I just going to be a spectator seeing this trauma play out? Either way,
None of it's good.
none of it is good. More so when DK is the winner.
Oh, yeah.
That is truly the scariest of all timelines.
When Danky Kang takes the crown, baby. For no good reason.
Danky Kang. God. But truly, nothing gets me as anxious in a game.
It's pretty terrifying. The whole experience is bad. The shriek of chance time that they say.
Can you do it?
Chance time! See if that was at all close.
Shivers go down my back.
Yeah, it's not great. No, chance time is horrifying. It's very, very scary.
Yeah.
It's as close as I can possibly get to Russian roulette without actually playing Russian roulette.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty accurate, actually.
Yeah.
It's Russian roulette for kids.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's horrible. I feel like some of my greatest triumphs and my greatest losses have certainly been behind the guiding hand of chance time.
The invisible hand of chance time, guiding the capitalist market of Mario Party.
Ugh. Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good number one.
That's it. And say no joke, Chase. That was no joke. That was all facts.
It is
Okay?
not a traditionally scary thing, but it is quite terrifying.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
terrifying in that, like, watching the news is scarier than watching a scary movie, right?
Yeah, it's
it's
true.
reality.
The Purge is not nearly as terrifying as like news at 6 o'clock every day.
It was not as terrifying as the presidential debate.
Would you like to hear my number one?
I'm ready.
Spookiest moment.
Let's hear it.
It comes in the game Silent Hill 1.
Okay.
It is near the beginning of the game. I think the internet has dubbed this the alleyway scene.
The alleyway scene. Okay.
So essentially what happens for the folks listening, essentially what happens is it's right in the beginning and you're not really sure like what's happening in Silent Hill yet. You've been given very little information other than the fact that you are looking for your daughter. Mm-hmm. And so you're like wandering around like this kind of foggy looking suburban setting. And you think you see maybe like a spooky little girl that kind of might be your daughter, maybe. Mm-hmm. And she eventually leads you down to like this alleyway. And if you wanted to, you can go into, I think, other alleyways, and they're kind of just normal. But you go into this one, and it immediately is like, hey, there's some like blood and gore on the ground. And that's a little frightening, but you gotta get, like, your girl's back here maybe, so you gotta follow her down. And what essentially happens is the alleyway just keeps getting more and more deeply fucked up as you get farther down. Mm-hmm. And like it starts playing with like camera angles and shit like that, which that isn't really done in PlayStation 1 video games. Like you're coming at the camera at some point and it like pans up and out like to look at you from below and then like twists and like comes down like through your back kind of. And it gets like darker and darker and darker until you're like in next to this like fence with this like disemboweled body and like there's this horrifying music playing in the background.
Oh God.
And the dude's like, what is going on here? And then there's like these little like childish monsters that spawn and start attacking you. And again, you haven't been given any indication about like combat or fighting or anything. And so you can try and run or you can try and fight if you want to, but none of it's going to work. Like you're supposed to die right there. And then you supposedly wake up after that having had a dream. But it is a very good intro to Silent Hill, which is like, it's an indication that, hey, some fucked up stuff is going to happen to you in this game and you're mostly powerless to it.
Yeah, this is your last chance to bail on this game.
Yeah.
Be ready for more of this.
Yeah, so that was quite terrifying. Again, that came out in 1999. I remember playing this with my dad and he was like, oh, it was a little spooky. And I was like, Dad, I am in hell right now. This is so scary.
I have been transported to hell, Father, with that.
Yeah, it's quite spooky. A weird thing that I noticed about almost all of these games is that they came out within a 2-year span from 1998 until 2000. Whoa. Barring the exception of PT. Mm-hmm. And I think this may be why I like those like weird spooky indie games now that look like PlayStation 1 games.
Sure.
Because they make me feel a certain way. Like all of this is reminiscent of very, very scary games that I've played in the past.
Sure.
But yeah, weird observation. It kind of just leads me to think that like maybe I was just more susceptible to terror as a child.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the games that are like the scariest that I've seen, like with the exception of maybe PT, like Alien Isolation was on a lot of lists for people.
That wasn't too bad.
It was scary, but like not like Silent Hill intro scary. Not like mentally and emotionally terrifying. Like it was just like it's a fucking alien.
Yeah,
like, run away.
Yeah, I mean it's just in that time of your life you're just much more impressionable to that kind of stuff. It just sticks with you.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
I asked a couple of people who listen to the show what their spookiest moments were. And so I got a couple of pretty good ones, actually.
All right, let's hear them.
So let's see. First one I got from Brian was in Majora's Mask. Like, most of that game felt pretty spooky, and I sort of agree with him that, like, especially Clock Town in general is just, like, everybody's just kind of, like, living their life, despite the fact that there's, like, a gigantic moon falling on top of their town.
They're chill with it.
They're fine.
Yeah.
He said it felt pretty David Lynchy, that like everybody's just like, hello, I'm from Town Place, and like the apocalypse is tomorrow. Oh well. Just like the actions of the people in the town are almost somehow like scarier than the actual terrifying thing
that
happening.
They just don't care that the world is ending.
They seem to not act like humans, which is very scary in itself. Not to mention, like, do you remember the cutscene that would play whenever Link would put on a mask in that game?
When he would like scream.
He would literally scream.
And there would be like a crunching sound when there'd be like
yeah.
Like, oh.
And then he's just like a Deku kid, and that's fine.
He's like, I'm good.
But yeah, no, that whole game definitely is very spooky, so I agree with him there.
That's true. That is a under the radar scary game.
Yeah. Got one from Drew, who said that playing through Doom 3 on his dad's computer was quite horrifying.
Ooh, Doom 3, classic.
Yeah, Doom 3 I definitely feel like was a pretty spooky game in general. They definitely leaned on the horror aspect of it in that one.
Definitely. They had the flashlight. That was the big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, you like couldn't hold a flashlight and a gun at the same time, so you had to like see the bad guy. So wild. Such a bold decision.
Yeah, that's pretty bold.
So like you couldn't shoot and see at the same time. So like you kind of just had to see like the shadows after.
Just got to guess.
Yeah, not great. Especially I remember too at the time it looking very good. So like it was scary on that level too of like these are pretty realistic monsters.
It had pretty good graphics for back in the day, yeah.
Yeah. Had another one from Brian who mentioned Amnesia, The Dark Descent being very spooky, which I definitely agree with.
Yeah, that was on my list. I told you I had a recurring theme amongst my games too, and that was on the list of recurring themes. And that it's the only scary parts I remember from the beginning of the game because I didn't finish the game. I do like the first level. I'm just like, no, it's like that.
I think I'm good. Yeah.
Dead Space, the Resident Evil 7 demo.
Yep.
Yeah. So that Amnesia's messed up. That's a scary
It was
game.
definitely like top tier horror for a second there. Like people were really talking about it. It's like, this is a very scary game.
Yeah. No, I remember that was another one I played with the bros because we went through a scary game phase where it was like that and Slender and PT and
Slender, bro.
Oh, what is it? Outlast,
yeah.
Outlast is pretty messed up.
I saw that on a lot of people's lists for spookiest game. Yeah, I think Brian had mentioned the same thing, that he had played Amnesia with a group of folks, which is, I've noticed that in talking about this, we've talked a couple times about like, well, I was playing this one with friends because it's like, hey, everybody, come get scared in here.
Yeah.
It makes it a little bit easier. I feel like playing horror games on your own is like, that's a
somewhat masochistic.
Yeah, it's a brave person's endeavor, but I am not one of those folks.
Like, if it's a really scary game, like, you wouldn't play Resident Evil 7 in VR while you're at home alone with the lights off, would you?
I wouldn't play with the lights on and 100 people around me. I could not handle that game. Oh, my God. I asked our good friend Jazz about what the spookiest game he played was, and I got no explanation except a video of Aliens for Commodore 64, like a playthrough of it.
Interesting.
So I'm assuming that is his spookiest game, but again, I have no context.
Video speaks for itself. Please.
I mean, it was quite a basic looking video game, but I think the same rule probably applies, that he was about the same age that I was when I was being scared by video games.
Yeah.
That he played this one and was terrified of it.
There you go.
Lastly, we have the Garen shout out of the week. Garen mentioned that Dead Hand from the Spirit Temple in Ocarina of Time was his spookiest gaming moment.
Gotcha.
Which, do you know what this dude looks like?
I'm drawing a blank.
This dude. It's like an optional boss in Ocarina of Time.
I don't think I ever played him if he's an optional boss. I must have skipped over that part.
I think when I first played through it, I didn't run into him, so I was kind of glad because this does look quite terrifying.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I do remember his
Yeah.
head twitching around. Let's see if we
And
can
he
pull up a
grabs
little-
your head with his arms, like that are disembodied from him, surrounding you. That's pretty scary.
There's a couple of things in Ocarina that are not very fun to play through. Any of the zombies from Ocarina always kind of gave me a good little spook.
Yeah, that first zombie you run into in Ocarina when you fall down in the graveyard area.
Yeah.
It's pretty spooky.
So yeah, Garen was not a big fan of that one, which I agree with. Quite scary indeed.
That's real.
Anyway, so if we missed one of your spookiest moments, let us know. Talk to us on Twitter or email us or text us because a lot of you have our phone numbers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hit us up.
Yeah, tell us what you think. I love a good spooky game. It's good shit.
It is good. There's something about it. Just gets you in a different way.
David, we are on Spooky Twitter,
Spooky Twitter.
which is the name of the website Twitter that I've given it for the month of October.
So how do you get to Spooky Twitter? Do you have to have a password? Is it Bones?
You have to put a pumpkin on your head,
Ooh, okay.
say the phrase, bones are spooky, and then Spooky Twitter shows up on your phone. It's like an app.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's like in Persona, I guess.
Spooky Twitter.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It just has like a dark vibe to it.
Yeah, and the O's in spooky are actually zeros.
And sometimes they have little arms, spooky ghost arms coming out of them.
arms.
So yeah, go hit us up there if you're trying to chat, if you're trying to tell us about your spookiest moments in video games. If you want to give a review to the show to help us out, that would be a great service that you do to us.
We would
if you
appreciate
like us
it greatly.
and you want to can keep us doing it, that's a great way to get the word out, to keep showing it to other people. We're going up on 1,000 downloads, so we're gonna getting
Whoa.
up there, spreading the word.
All right.
Big fans. So yeah, if you want to do that, that would help us out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we would love you. So yeah.
Greatly.
With that, David, do you have any gaming wisdom for this week?
Yeah, you could do it. I got nothing right now.
Okay, that's fine.
I got nothing.
We're about to reverse it on them. I will do it this week.
A remix.
Like a vampire, though, you do have to invite me in.
I invite you to do video game wisdom for the week, Chase.
My video game wisdom this week. Don't go to Silent Hill. No matter how tight it sounds, no matter how many of your ex-wives are there, or your daughters, or your potential friends or lovers, I would just probably not go, I think. People keep going, and it keeps turning out very badly. So if I had to offer some advice, it would be to not go to Silent Hill. Go to Loud Hill. Loud Hill is probably pretty tight.
Loud Valley?
Loud Valley is so fucking cool. No ghosts, no monsters, no representations of your moral or psychological issues that manifest into the physical realm. None of that.
It's sunny all year round. Never a cloud in the sky.
The sun never sets before 7, so there's plenty of it. They don't have daylight savings time, so it is truly paradise.
Ooh, my God. Didn't know you felt so strongly about that, Chase.
Bro, wait. I can't remember which one it is, but fuck whatever savings time or non-savings time is the one that makes it get dark at 4:30. I don't like that one at all. It's coming up. I don't like it.
It is. Oh, you're right. It is coming up. Can't we just skip
November
it for
1st.
2020?
Dude, yeah, please. I would love
We're
a
not
button.
doing that this year for 2020.
It's canceled. Daylight savings time is canceled. We're all going to move to Loud Valley and start over. Let Loud Valley solve your problems.
It's a beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place with beautiful people. And when you go there, Baldur's Gate is currently released. And so is Cyberpunk.
God, those two games between them, that's probably 400 hours of content, I would assume.
Probably. It's a lot of gaping. Well, see you next week.
Gate punk.